Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Dentists in the Know. This is the podcast where dentistry meets real talk, real news, and just the right amount of sarcasm. We're pulling back the curtain on the industry, talking to the experts, the innovators, and the everyday clinicians who are out there doing the work. No fluff, no filter, and definitely no sales pitches disguised as education. If it's happening in dentistry, from clinical breakthroughs to regulatory curveballs to the latest scandal at the ADA, we're probably already talking about it. And yes, we're bringing the receipts. So whether you're a seasoned doc, a curious consumer, a rep, a researcher, a student, or you're just here for the drama, welcome to the show, because around here, we're not just in the loop, we are in the know. I'm Dr. Chad Duplantis, and I'm here with my good buddy, Dr. Jeff Horowitz. Dr. Jennifer Bell couldn't be with us tonight, but you know what? Jeff Horowitz decided that he was going to go to New Jersey to deal with a family issue. And Jeff has a habit of leaving things behind. So, just to punish Jeff a little bit, because Jeff did leave his computer, I'm going to leave him down there waiting in the wings for just a second, because he left his computer in South Carolina while he's in New Jersey. So I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to blah, 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 blah. No, I'm kidding. I'm going to bring Jeff up. How you doing, Jeff, bro?
You abuse me when I don't have any controls. Do you realize the loss of sense of control that I have right now? Because I don't have anything. I just have my little iPhone. That's it.
Hey, but you know what? This is a perfect time for story time, right?
Okay.
Okay, so 2017, 2018, we go to Nashville. And I've heard all of these stories about Jeff leaving things behind places. And so we're in Nashville and we have meetings all day. And then we have a cocktail reception that evening at the top of this building. I don't even remember where it was. But at the top of this building, we have this cocktail reception. And so as soon as the meetings are over, we all go to the cocktail reception. Well, the next day, my wife and Jeff and his lovely wife decided we were all going to go grab coffee and lunch and do a little shopping and whatnot. And totally nonchalantly, just like, this would be freaking me out, but totally nonchalantly, Jenny's like, oh, well, we have to go to the place where we were last night. We're just waiting for him to open because Jeff left his briefcase there with his computer and everything in it. The best part is, this is what I love about you, Jeff. There was not a care in the world. It was basically just like it'll be there. And if it's not, who cares?
It's what I do, Chad.
It's what you do, and I just hope to God that everything else that you do is stored in the cloud.
Yeah, it's one of those things, and this time, I actually feel like I had an excuse. Most of my life, there is no excuse for. But this time, I literally came home Tuesday night, had a little family thing I needed to come up to New Jersey for. My old stomping ground, by the way. But I had something I had to get up here for, a little family medical thing. And so literally went from work, left at like 4:30, got home at 5, had a 7 o'clock flight out of Myrtle Beach, threw some stuff in a bag, grabbed my bags, and didn't realize that my laptop was not in my briefcase. Did bring my briefcase though, but didn't realize that my laptop was not in my briefcase, and quickly learned that on the airplane, and figured out how I was going to do this. But apparently you can use your iPhone for a lot of things, maybe not that well, but we have an iPhone here that is doing its job. And I'm just really excited that we have an amazing guest tonight who I had the opportunity to speak with and speak to his study group, and just feel so good that he's on with us tonight. And the fact that I was able to make it in one form or another is a great thing.
Well, we're glad you're here. We're glad you're here, man. I'm sorry that your week's not going kind of.
Who's we, Chad? Who's we? It's just you right now.
Me and Ben.
You and Ben. Okay.
Yeah, glad you're here.
Okay.
Ben and I. That's
You
we.
you were saying we like you had some team behind you now that I didn't know about, and I
Well,
wasn't happy about that.
Jennifer's glad that you're here too. I mean,
Yeah.
she's obviously too busy for us, but she's glad that you're here too. So because that gives her a little time. And I mean, I'm celebrating like a milestone here, man. This is like 5 or 6 weeks in a row that I'm here because it feels like I was traveling so much that I was gone for a while, but I'm glad to be here as well.
I'm not gonna mention that I really did feel like a spouse that was just being ignored for a while. Like that there were three or 4 weeks where I'm like, does Chad just not love me anymore? Does what's happened to the relationship? You know, do I not tell him he's good looking enough? Do I what do I need to do more to get Chad to come back?
Hey, you know what? I'm just glad to be here. But hey, can I tell you about my week? Can I tell you about my week?
Please do.
Okay. This is one of those weeks where you're super excited because we were off Monday for Labor Day. Yesterday, I didn't work. I'll tell you about that in just a second. And then I work today and tomorrow, and then you got another weekend. But so this past weekend, for those of you that listen in, we partner with Ada Education. And Ada Education is a wonderful group. They have a lot of great events. And this past weekend, they asked me to go MC an event in McAllen, Texas, which, for those of you that know Texas, it is the southernmost tip of Texas down in the valley. Never been there. I've lived in Texas for 47 years and I've never been to the valley. So I went down to the valley. And I just want to say there's a couple of things about the valley that I want to say. One, the most congenial people you'll ever meet. Two, the most tight-knit group that you'll ever meet. One of Midwest and Ada's sales representatives, Renee Villarreal, he hosts an event every year in the valley. He blew this thing out of the park. 600 attendees. They were at max capacity for this event. Yeah, 600 attendees. So I just want to say how proud I am of Ada Education, of Midwest Dental in particular for this particular event. I know there's another event like this in Alabama that's hosted by one of the Atlanta reps. Kudos to them. I've never been to an event of such tight-knit people. None of the dentists were in competition. They were just all getting along. Just a wonderful, wonderful event. Solid education and really, really cool. So then I flew back from that. And yesterday I was invited to play in this golf tournament. I'm not a big fan of like scrambles just because, you know, it's like you go into a scramble, you don't really get to play, you don't get to do this or do that. But basically our team was 4 people and every team that played, there were 27 teams and we were all paired with a golf professional. And so the event was for a guy by the name of Hayden Springer. Keep an eye out on him. His daughter passed away a few years ago. She was born with trisomy 18. So he started this event to celebrate his daughter's life and to put money towards trisomy 18. And her name was Sage. And this is the year of her 5th birthday. So really a special event. But anyhow, our pro cancels the night before the event. So we get paired with Hayden's caddy. And I will tell you, this guy was a freaking hoot. It was the best golf tournament I've ever played in for such a great cause. And it was just a lot of fun. Got to meet a lot of golf professionals and really just have a good time. But to me, I don't care who was there with us or whatever. We had a great time. But just to see somebody that is going out there and he had a horrible tragedy in his life with losing his daughter in 2023. And he made, lemonade out of lemons. And believe it or not, he made it onto the PGA Tour through Q School right after his daughter's passing. His caddy told him, "You can't do Q School." And he said, "No, I got to do it. I got to do it. I got to do it." So if anybody ever paid attention to Q School, this guy busted his ass and made it. And he's really turned this horrible tragedy into a wonderful situation for years to come. So
What a great
really,
story, Chad.
it was awesome. It was just
Yeah.
awesome. So it was an uplifting day. So
Yeah, what an amazing story, and on the note of Ada, our guest tonight, Dr. Ben Kellum, we actually got to meet him through an Ada meeting. Our last trip down to Mexico, he was one of the speakers, and but I have to say something else that. Because of that meeting, Dr. Kellum invited me to speak at a study club in Huntsville, Alabama, and Ada was having a meeting in Gunnersville, Alabama, at Gunnersville State Park, which I will also say is put on by one of the Atlanta dental reps, part of Ada and Ada Education.
is that
And
Andy's event?
what's that?
Is that Andy's event?
Yeah, no, that's not Andy's event. It's shoot. I'm sorry. I'll think of it in just a second, but um it is an incredible event at the state park in Gunnersville. Beautiful location. Nearly 200 dentists all together, same thing, no one in competition with each other, everybody just trying to become better. And so I was booked to speak at that meeting, and Ben called me, Dr. Kellum, and said, "I know you're going to be in Gunnersville. Maybe the night before, I have a study club, which we'll get into when we speak with him." He said, "I have a really great study club, and I'd love for you to come and speak. And would you mind coming in a day early?" And I'm like, "Absolutely, I would love to do that." So it was really nice. Got to fly in, start my weekend in Huntsville, and with the study club, and what a phenomenal opportunity that was, and met some great people, and then got to go up to Gunnersville and do the lecture. Just a great weekend. And if you ever, yes, and it was Andy's event.
That was the event that I was speaking of when I was talking about Renee's
Yeah,
event.
yeah, yeah.
There's a couple of great ones. So kudos to Renee and Andy, and I hope that some
Priola.
other
Yeah,
people
yeah.
join in.
Yeah, it was a phenomenal event, and but kudos to all the ADA groups that are doing such an amazing job, and the companies that are associated: Atlanta Dental, Midwest Dental, Getsy Dental, and Nashville Dental, for just putting on a lot of events that really bring dentistry together.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, man. I mean, it's really great when they put these events together and you see the camaraderie amongst the localities. It's really nice.
Yeah. So, what do you say?
Not really sure what happened, but we lost everybody.
I'm
Can you
still
hear me?
here. Yeah, I've got
Am
you.
I here?
You're still
Okay,
here,
cool.
Ted. Yeah.
We just relooped for some reason. Hey, you
Okay.
want me to introduce our guest?
If you'd like to, I'm all for it, or I can do it. Either way.
Well, I'm happy to. I know you're a little bit shorthanded, but I'm happy to introduce him. But the first thing that I want to say is that I didn't really get to talk to Ben last year in Mexico, and I after reading his bio, I'm kind of blown away because I just did not. I didn't get to hear his voice, but I think I would have known right away that he's from the South. But one of the most interesting things about Ben, as I bring him up, is that he is from the birthplace of the king of rock and roll, Mr. Elvis Presley. And for those of you that know me well, I am a full-on believer that Elvis is still alive and well. I think he's getting close to the end, but I think he's still alive and well. But anyhow, Dr. Ben Kellum grew up in Tupelo, Mississippi. He went to Lipscomb University in the great town of Nashville, Tennessee. He earned his dental degree from the University of Oklahoma, and I will just throw this out there right now, even though the last weekend was bad for us. My daughter goes to OU. That's painful enough, but he went to University of Oklahoma, which is not in Norman because Norman sucks, but Oklahoma City is pretty phenomenal. He then completed a one-year residency in Idaho with advanced training in implant dentistry and later practiced in a full-arch denture and implant clinic. He is the program director, or then served as the program director of the Foundry Dental Clinic AEGD Residency in Birmingham, Alabama, which is a Christian-based program where he combined his expertise in implants with his passion for serving patients in drug recovery. He is now co-owner of Transcend Dental Clinic, which is a full-arch implant practice in Huntsville, Alabama, lectures on implant dentistry, digital dentistry, and full-arch implant workflows to dental professionals. It is an honor to have you here, Dr. Kellum. And tell us like it is. Tell us about the king.
Well, thank y'all for having me. Jeff, I want to emphasize, I'm glad you're here. Earlier he said we, and I'll reinforce that I'm also glad you're here.
I'm so glad to hear that, Ben. Thank you.
I just wanted to make sure to start there. I've
got one friend.
Yeah, that's right. At least one. I'm on your team there. And also, I'm very glad that I'm here because when you told me the time of this, that is, I have small children. So I have a 4, 6, and 8-year-old. And this is bedtime. And so the longer we can stall this out, the odds that I have to put any kids to bed go way down. So if I start really riffing at the end, you know that I'm trying to make sure that everybody's passed out at home. So that I appreciate y'all buying me a night of no screaming bedtimes. That was really appreciated on my end.
Dude, I get it. I will say you will miss those days, you know.
Yeah, it's very sweet. It's both most sweet and stressful time of the day by a long shot, but it's mostly sweet 99% of the time. It's really super fun, so we enjoy it. But have you been to Tupelo? Have you been to the birthplace?
I have not. I really want to go. I'm a huge Elvis fan. I'll tell you a funny story though. You were asking, you know, I've always wanted a Velvet Elvis, and I remember as a kid we sold one in a garage sale. So we went into this thrift shop in Nashville because my daughter loves thrifting, and we walk in and they've got this Velvet Elvis on the wall, and I'm like, how much? I want it. And she goes, that's the only thing in the store that's not for sale. Oh my gosh. It was so tacky, but on the other hand, it was so awesome.
Oh yeah. It's funny growing up there, you know, the birthplace is about 12 foot by 12 foot. It's a tiny house. And so a lot of people would come from around the world to come visit. And so there'd be tour buses of like a Japanese people from Japan that came, and it was hilarious because we grew up in this tiny town in Mississippi. There'd be a tour bus of Japanese people or wherever, and they would come, and they would only have so much they could do at the birthplace. And there was a McDonald's that had a bunch of memorabilia, so they would always go to the birthplace, and then you would go to McDonald's, and McDonald's just had all this random Elvis crap, and so they would take them there, and so you go like, why are there so many people?
I'm just imagining a bus of Japanese tourists in the ball pit.
I just want to get some, chicken nuggets here. I'm not sure why I can't. There's 55 people that are here that are trying to get it. So taking pictures for some reason of like a photocopied Elvis picture on the wall. So, but that was my memory of Elvis growing up.
But it's not too far from Memphis, correct?
No, it's not. I've never been to Graceland. And little known secret, there's a Graceland 2, as in the number 2. And there's a super fan in Holly Springs, Mississippi, that like collected all of Elvis's stuff, and he's open 24/7. And if you're looking for kind of an off the wall, peculiar trip to see some unusual memorabilia, that's a little known Elvis secret. So
and
you can go at like 2 a.m. and he'll be at the door waiting on you. So
just for our viewers, that is not Holly Springs, North Carolina, where our Jennifer Bell is from. This is Holly Springs, Mississippi. Yeah, right. Very cool.
I will tell you, I've been to Graceland maybe like 6 or 7 times. Lie. It's changed quite a bit, so I think you need to go. Now's the time to go, Ben.
Memphis was the big city for us, so that was where we'd always go. But I never went to Graceland. But we passed
Yeah.
through a lot. That is my list.
So Ben, let me start into this by saying, first of all, I was blown away by what you were doing in Huntsville. I mean, you had already come with high accolades. You know, when I met you in Mexico and you were lecturing on full mouth implant cases and implantology, and when I came to your study group, what I was amazed by was a couple of things. One was I was blown away by what you were doing for the community, which I didn't really have a full grasp for before I had shown up there. But the other piece of it was the way that you're educating your local dentists on how to do the things that you're doing, but also to say that you're an outlet for all of these patients that come to you and say, Doc, I just can't afford this. I just can't do this. And so the void that you are filling in our profession right now is so profound. Not only are you helping to take care of some of the indigent and some of those who have been underserved in the past, but you're also educating your fellow dentists on how to do the same thing that you're doing, and how to be part of a really good referral community. And so my question to you from all of this is where did this big idea come from? Like, how does Ben Kellum come out of dental school and start practicing and say, you know, I want to do all these great things in dentistry and then take it to this place in really such a relatively short time, given the point that you are in your career. So let's start there.
Yeah, well, I appreciate what you said. I think it's really interesting. I'm here with my partner Brian. He's the other dentist here. We actually met in dental school. We both went to OU, didn't know a soul. So we sat. It's funny. First day of dental school, they tell you you're going to partner up, and we thought it was literally just for the day for an activity. And so I was sitting. Brian's last name is the same as, or it's the same letter, and so we were sitting next to each other. So they said, "Hey, I don't know anybody. You know anybody?" No. Okay, great. You want to team up? Well, it was not for the day. It was for 4 straight years. That was, you were choosing your partner for the rest of the time. I had no clue. So we partnered up and we got to know each other well, and ended up here eventually. But really, kind of, I'll be honest, the probably the formative thing in dental school was we went on these, yeah, there's all these like outreach clinic type things with most schools where they send you out in the middle of nowhere and you go maybe in a clinic or a bus or something. And we're on a bus, and you could either do, we were excited about this because in dental school we didn't do anything. So they'd let us either do a filling or an extraction for everybody that came on. And they were coming on, and we went back to that hotel that night, and Brian and I were like, we're not doing anything for these people. It just felt so discouraging. They had these massive needs, and we were just like, we're not touching it. And there was a lot of people across the block like, we're not really helping these people. And I mean, it is, but we're not addressing the core need of what they need. And it's one of those things, like you sit in your dorm room and you talk about, wouldn't it be great if you have these big dreams? We're like, wouldn't it be great if we could make this place and it would address what people really need instead of just doing this little stuff? And everybody got what they needed, and that's what we talked about. And that was years ago. We kind of separated ways. And I'm trying to keep this the short version of the story, but then I went to residency and I wanted to keep kind of getting some training. So I went down to Birmingham and got affiliated with Foundry, which is a residency program that primarily does implant stuff. But the interesting thing about Foundry was it was affiliated with drug recovery. So it really exposed me to that world, which is its own amazing world of very impressive people that can get through drug recovery. And so I got exposed to that there and got exposed to the kind of the model of how they ran. And really it had a combination of dental education and also kind of partnering with different manufacturers and also just being really efficient to try to do everything in house. So I know I showed you a little bit when you were here about doing everything and having the laboratory on site. And so that was kind of the combination. And then it kind of came to a point where we were looking at transitioning out of Birmingham. And I was talking to Brian, my partner, I said, hey, what do you think about trying to do this thing, which is Transcend, which we started here about 4 or 5 years ago. And he was in transition. I was in transition. I said, we can always go into private practice and do the private practice thing. Let's try this thing. If it bursts in flames, then we'll just go out and go do our thing. So we did that 4 or 5 years ago. And honestly, we've been super blessed to have just tremendous growth. It's been really fun to watch. But if you're asking kind of the driving force, it really was just trying to, honestly, just staring at the problem of people having this unbelievably massive need and just not having a resource and so I got exposed to kind of a little bit of a model of how to do that and then just trying to do it. And fortunately for us, it's been successful so far. So, and I can go into lots of detail, but that's the short version.
Well, I mean, part of me is so curious. I mean, to have a nonprofit organization, where does one get the know-how and the skills and the understanding of how that type of an organization works and starting one? I mean, we're notoriously crappy business people coming out of dental school. So where do you get that kind of know-how to start something like that up?
Well, it was a lot of learning and a lot of mistakes made, as you know, with any owning business.
Sounds like my dental practice.
Yeah, it was a lot of looking at each other and being like, there's no way we're doing this right. I don't know what the right way is, but this isn't it. So we built Transcend. So kind of talk about the infrastructure a little bit. Transcend is a private entity. It is not a nonprofit necessarily. It is a reduced fee clinic. So our fees are about 50 to 70% in cost reduced compared to a typical clinic. And there's lots of reasons why, and we can get into that. And then we have a nonprofit that we've created as well that's independent, but it helps. So patients come into us, we're still significantly reduced. We've opened up a door to a lot of people that couldn't afford typical treatment, right? But we're still going to have a lot of people that come in and they can't afford treatment. So the nonprofit that's been created is kind of the last arm to help the last pool of patients that can't afford even significantly reduced fees. So if they get sent to us and they can afford our fees, which are reduced, that's great. And if not, they get into this nonprofit we've created, which helps facilitate getting them the treatment they need for this bigger treatment. So that's kind of the big 30,000 feet view of what our structure is here.
All right, let's dissect it a little bit because I got a question.
Yeah, okay. Go for it.
So the reason I ask is that we started, our church had this grandiose idea of starting this clinic in Fort Worth.
Yep.
But and I think there's a lot of people that have these grandiose ideas. And our church wanted to be able to offer care for free to those in need. However, the biggest problem is like one night I'm working there and this lady comes in who's obviously, I mean, I'm not to judge a book by its cover, but dressed like she's not really in need. And she says, I'm so glad there's a clinic in this neighborhood. My insurance has been giving me fits at the dental office that I'm going to, and I'm glad I can go somewhere where I don't have to pay. Well, of course, that was really irritating to all of us because by what she drove up in, by the way she walked in, and by the comment that she made, we all knew that she could afford care. It was just trying to figure out the ups and downs. How do you not discriminate, I guess would be the best word, or how do you and you can give us the 300, foot aerial view. I don't care. But how do you determine who's in need and who's not, and how do those people that actually pay for the care not get upset with those that don't? And I know that's a weird way of wording that. I don't know the best way to word it, but
that makes perfect sense to me. So there's a lot of answers to that question. One is that generally when people come in, even if they can or cannot afford it, we give them our fees. So we just tell them this is the deal. If they can't afford those, they can apply to the nonprofit for grants, and there is a process there that does kind of income verification and kind of some analysis there to make sure that there is not someone that's coming in that has ridiculous income that's just trying to work around the system. So if they have come to us, we as far as Transcend, we don't worry that much about it. We have fees. If you have $1 bajillion and are going to get a better deal than you might down the road, that's okay. If you don't have any money at all, you're going to have to apply through this process, which is not rigorous. It's not intense, but it does have some guardrails in place to try to prevent people from trying to game that system that way. And the honest answer to that, after a long time of being in this world, is I honestly have just become more comfortable being taken advantage of, in the nicest way. I mean that seriously. Like at some point, you just have to say, worst case scenario, I help somebody out, like, and maybe they take advantage of you, and that sounds silly, and I don't want to do that routinely, but like, I guess so. So I get the same thing to some extent about drug recovery. A lot of people go, well, don't you want to make sure that they're going to get through their, like, be all the way through their recovery and not relapse? You're about to do a lot of dentistry on these people. And in the ministry side of what we're doing, realistically, our goal is just to show love to these people. And maybe it's hard for me to go, am I sure you're going to be worth it? It is kind of.
It's more about just being a positive force.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to be a positive. I tell them, hey, I can't solve all your problems, but I can fix your teeth. So let's start there. That's what I can do. And I think that it's totally reasonable what you're saying. Like, that's something we talk a lot about. How can we make sure there's only so many dollars in the bucket? There's only so many options we can give. And so it's a combination of trying to put up certain ways of verification and then being okay that we're not always going to be perfect. And so that's kind of the blend there. And we do probably have people that come in that could afford it. And then we'll have people that we missed that probably couldn't afford it. We just try our best. And then like I said, I'm just more okay than I used to be with the fact that some people are going to come in and they get good teeth, and I was nice to them. And that's okay with me at the end of the day, honestly. So, but that's tricky to do. But that's my honest answer.
That's probably one of the most vulnerable and profound statements I've ever heard in dentistry. And I'm just going to clap.
Yeah. No, I agree. I was actually blown away by that.
I'm pretty damn impressed. But
I almost wrote it down. Actually, I've just learned to be okay with knowing I'm going to be taken advantage of sometimes, but I'm on the right side of what I'm doing. It's just, I applaud that as well.
Well, it's something we talk a lot about, and it's something that we get a lot of questions about. And it is, not to dive too deep into necessarily the Christian or ministry side of it, but there's a lot in the Christian faith about the idea of undeserved, right? Just undeserved things. And we're in that category. I'm okay trying to be that category for some people, which is, may not deserve it, but people deserve teeth also, like, so, but it's tricky. You got to balance that with trying to find ways to make it financially happen. And so it's always being it's a balance of practicality and also, like I said, just knowing that you're not going to do it right. So
yeah.
Now, did you and your wife and your 3 children, did y'all buy Elvis's 12-foot by 12-foot mansion so that y'all could live in and provide this quality of dentistry?
That's it. We did. It was for sale just down the road. It's funny. We built the clinic, and I'm an open book about a lot of this stuff because people always have a lot of questions. We built this clinic thinking that the clinic would be a total loss, and that, or in general, or break even, best case scenario, and that we would have to teach to supplement. So that was the original model. And then we started doing it, and it's hilarious. I remember a couple of years ago, we started, because we set the fees so low. How can you possibly survive? You said so. All right, great, we'll see. And then I remember sitting in the office with my dental partner, and we were looking at the computer. It's one of those like hilarious things. It sounds like a joke, but we're like reloading the page because our bank statement was black and not red for the first month. And we were like, oh wow, this clinic thing's actually, is it possible this thing could actually work? And then it just started to grow, and the referral thing started to grow, and a lot of the model and support of the area really. And we just realized that, like, we do very little education. Like, we go and lecture places, but we used to have to do all these CE courses on site. And really, we've just focused on the clinic, and that's purely out of, I joke about, we have kind of a Robin Hood mentality. We have people that pay the fees our fees, which are still reduced, but they pay our fees to help fund a lot of the treatment for the patients that can't afford it. And so that just grew, and I like, it's just is the reality of kind of our situation. So we just leaned heavy in the clinic, and we haven't turned back.
Well, let's focus for a second on the Transcend study group, because I know you said that you're not running out and doing as much education, but I think that people need to hear about what you're doing for this local study group in Huntsville. And one of the things that impressed me the most when I showed up there, first of all, it's an amazing facility, and I want you to kind of tell everybody about that. But the part that really impressed me more than anything was at the beginning of the event. The thing that you said to everyone is, I only have one rule. You have to come talk to me and say hello and introduce yourself
Yeah.
if you want to be here. That was like your only rule for the study group. And it was such an, I feel like that let a lot of barriers down, immediately. And I think, I mean, what you've done is genius, because you've also now found other dentists to find the patients that they're not able to help and get them to you who can help them in whatever form that is. But you're educating them on top of it, and all you're really asking is for them to just become a part of a dental community that communicates. And I just love that. Like that just you have no idea the impact that statement made on me when you started, because that is not something that you hear in most groups. Is my only rule is you just better damn talk to me. Yeah,
The best part about that is when you say that directly, no one feels like they can leave. It really does work really well. It's kind of a hilarious thing. You say that kind of jokingly, but people really do feel like, I can't think of a single night we've done that where people have not, like, someone new has not come up and talked. So it's been kind of hilarious. But yeah, some of it came out of necessity. As far as, like, we moved to Huntsville, we didn't know a soul in Huntsville. We had been to Huntsville one time before we bought our practice here, and so we didn't know a dentist here. We didn't know anybody, and so there wasn't a big master plan with the study club, other than we really would like to get to know people in the community. We weren't even thinking referrals or anything at that time. We were just, hey, we'd like to get to know some other people. We're just going to do it. We initially had 5 or 6 people. COVID kind of killed the study club community in Huntsville, and so it was kind of struggling to kind of get back. And so people were hungry for that a little bit and excited to get back. And so the timing was good. I love the thing I miss most working with the residents. Every day we had 11 residents each year, and every day you would get to sit with them and you talk about whatever the day and joke about whatever, kind of like what y'all do on here. Joke about the day, talk about patients, talk about how you got beat up. You thought that that endo was going to be easy, and it was, it was terrible. It took you 2.5 hours or whatever. And that kind of community was really impactful to me. And I really do think in dentistry we get very siloed, it's a lonely profession if you're not careful.
For sure.
And so And that's what I sensed with the residents. You know, you go out in private practice and you're busy and you just lose that community. And so we were just interested in kind of getting to know people in the area, and it just grew and people were interested. And we've loved it. I mean, I really don't, we do it primarily just because it's kind of fun to do. It's not that hard to do. We get to eat and spend an hour and a half listening. We invite other people like yourself to come. So that's been really fun. But it's really just was out of like, we don't know anybody. We sure got to meet the neighbors kind of thing. And that we had the building, you know, and you talked about the building. So we have a lecture space. It could probably hold 40 or 50 people. And we've kind of built it out because we originally thought education was going to be the driving force. And so we built this education. Part of it was when we started teaching less, we were like, what are we going to do with the space? We have this lecture space. Like, I guess we can invite people to dinner and come and start doing it. So that was kind of the start of it. We did it about 2 years ago, and it's been going for a while. We really love it.
How have you worked? And I'm sorry, Chad. I know you're wanting to ask, but I just keep thinking of one question after the next. But so tell us a little bit, because around the lecture space and around the study group space, that's also kind of your printing and 3D modeling, and all of your technology basically is in that space, milling, printing,
Mhm.
everything. And I was really impressed by not just the quality of the equipment, but the amount of equipment that was in there. And so tell us a little bit about getting all of that technology in place for your practice and for the study group as well, because it was very impressive.
Well, the technology thing, I was not inherently a super techie guy. And I came out of dental school, went to the run this residency program. We had a random mill that was there. I didn't even know it was a mill. I was like, what's that black box in the corner? It was not a Cerac. And so I trained with Cerac. But what is that thing? Well, it's a Amon Gerbach Ceramill. Okay, I was like, I don't know what that is. I said, well, there's this software called Exocad. I don't know. The lab techs knew what they're doing left, so it's just sitting there. So it was one of those things in between patients I would like turn on and watch it spin around and try to tinker with. And we started to mess with it a little bit more. But at this clinic, it was a reduced fee clinic too. And so I'm thinking, well, there's no way technology, you just assume technology is not really going to fit with a reduced cost thing. And so I started just using it on my patients and really just kind of fell into it. And the more I got into it, the more I was able to do stuff to like, I got where I could help do more stuff. And so
And
it really
reduce the overall
cost.
cost of the
Yeah,
product
reduce
that you're
cost and
providing.
initially make a really crappy product for someone, but eventually make something that looks good and fit. And it's funny, right about the time I started doing a lot more, really it was timing. I mean, all of this is just fortunate timing. The interest in technology on the dental world was heavy. So a lot of people, I'd just be sitting there. This place also in Birmingham taught a lot of continuing education. So these dentists would come in for these courses and they would wander in and be like, hey, I really want to know how are you printing, how are you whatever. And I was like, you want to know about this? Why do you even care? This was years ago. Why do you even care about, I'm just tinkering around with this thing. And now it's funny to think about now because like it's consuming so much of the dental space right now. But and so I just kind of fell. And then so I was like, do you want to talk about this digital stuff? I was like, I guess if you can get more than 5 people in a room to listen to it, I'll talk about it. But yeah, the technology's been the like driving force. And there's a lot of gimmicky stuff. Like I try to balance the line between like technology saves the world and also there's a happy medium. There's technology that's not useful, but it's really made it possible for us to do what we do at the cost that we do consistently. But yeah, as far as the technology, a lot of it's in place realistically because I went to a lot of companies and said, hey, we're trying to help people in North Alabama. Here's our deal. I had formed relationships with them. I said, this is what we're trying to do. And we had a lot of really generous companies that helped us get started. And so a lot of that you see is from some companies I really respect that stepped up and said, we want to help with what you're doing. So
So you and Brian were in dental school together. Y'all started this endeavor together. I don't think I realized that you all practiced together. So how long have you all been practicing together? Past 10 years or so, or?
So I've been in practice about 10 or 11 years, and I was out in private practice for 3 or 4 years, and then I ran this residency for 3 years, and then I've been practicing with Brian for 4 years or 5 years. So we've practiced together at Transcend only. So he kind of went out into the private practice world, and then it's funny with Brian. He went into private practice, and I was doing all this implant stuff, and he was cutting class twos, and he was going bananas. And he kept talking to me, and I'd say, hey, we'd catch up on the phone. He'd go, what are you doing? Well, I'm doing this, blah, blah, blah. And he'd go, man, I really want to do that. And he'd go into this whole thing. And one day I said, Brian, you either got to learn how to do this stuff, or you just got to shut up. I just can't talk to you every time I talk on the phone and hear you complain about it. And he actually, to his credit, in the middle of owning a private practice, he found an associate and went to residency to learn to do implants and fell in love with it, and kind of then that's when we springboard into this. And so, but I was so sick. I was like, Brian, I just can't hear you. You just either got to make peace with class twos, or you got to dive off into the deep end. But like one way or the other, we just gotta. I can't talk about it anymore.
So where was Brian's practice prior to joining with you?
He was initially in Nevada and then in Oklahoma. So,
oh man, so he made a huge leap of faith.
Yeah, I was going to say that was a big move.
You know, it's funny you were talking about kind of the setting things up here. The one thing that we did is we just kind of said we're going to ride the boat across to the island, and then we're going to burn the boat. You know what I'm saying? You have to kind of commit to doing it. And so we said we're going to be whole in. You know, this is going to be our thing. And so there were some times where it looked like we wish we had a boat, but I'm glad we didn't, because it made it where we made the thing survive and thrive. So, but yeah, he took a much bigger. I was in Birmingham, so Huntsville is an hour and a half. I have a ton of family here, but he doesn't know a soul. I mean, he's from Utah originally, so it was a huge jump for him and his family. He has four little tiny kids, so it was a big deal. So
Chad, that explains the great hair, because everyone from Utah has great hair.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. It's just right. Part of it. Part of
the That's great, man. That's great. Well, tell us how the general public or dentist could help you in your endeavors. I mean, what could we do to help you?
Well, one thing I'd love to do is go back to Mexico. So if you know a guy, that was hilarious. I was joking. My wife, I said, they asked me if I would teach in Mexico, and I didn't even ask what they wanted to talk about. I may be lecturing. I may be running a cooking show in Mexico. I don't know. I just
you're selling timeshares. Yeah.
And so when we went, my wife loved it at that event. She had a blast, and she was like, it was the morning of the lecture, and she basically was like, listen, don't blow it. I want you to be invited back here. So whatever you do, just do a good job. And so that she put the pressure on. But yeah, as far as is help, I mean, if you're in the region of North Alabama, and we see patients all over, if you have patients that need the treatment, even if they can afford it, that'd be great. That helps fund the people that can't. So if you're just looking for a place to send people for implant treatment, we do single tooth and full arch implants. So that helps, because it helps the funding of the people that can't. If you have people that can't afford treatment, we're a resource to send. We have our study club in North Alabama that we'd love to have dentists come. That's been so fun. Anybody in North Alabama, if you're close, we have people that drive from an hour and a half. It's really, really fun. So we're in Huntsville at the building. We do it once a month. You can look on our website at Transcend Dental, and you can see that. And then we have our nonprofit. It's called Restore Dental. Honestly, just connecting with us there, contacting us, or financially supporting. Basically, the way that works is kind of the idea of a lever. So the dollar you donate gets about, I don't know, $10 or $20 worth of dentistry for every dollar. So it just kind of a multiplier is the idea. They kind of partner with dentists in the area to negotiate doing things that reduce cost. So you can get, if they need a bunch of dentistry done, dentists agree to do it at a reduced cost for a couple patients, and then they'll pay, the nonprofit pays that reduced fee and kind of coordinates getting them treated. So if you can donate to Restore, that would help a ton too. So those are the main things, is either connecting with us if you're in the area, or if you're interested in a lecture. I like going and meeting people, so that's fun too. But I mean, mainly it's just connecting with our clinic and then the nonprofit Restore. So.
Well, I think Jeff and I might be able to work on the Mexico thing.
That or something. That sounds pretty fun.
That could probably happen, but
we know a guy, or a gal, I should say.
I like guys. I think that's great. So
yeah, but I actually have an opportunity for you that we'll talk about later. But I didn't anticipate this going in this direction, but you said something really interesting, and since we're kind of closing in on time, I do want to ask you, give the world your take on what Aspire was last year. I mean, you said your wife had a great time, so what was your take on Aspire last year?
Yeah, it's interesting. So a lot of times the CE that I've gone to historically has been those courses that are really super duper intense. You go and it's from the morning until night, and it's in like Chicago in January, and so I loved, my favorite thing about it was we had some excellent speakers, but also it's just really relaxed. And so it was just nice to have a balance of, like, my wife was like, why don't we go to these CEs more? Because she's just so accustomed to, like, she'll be like, where are you going? I'll be like, well, I'm going to a small town in North Dakota for a week. And I want to spend 15 hours a day. And so I think the combination of, but sometimes those can be a little fluff and not a lot of good content. So I think the thing that really appealed to me was I felt like there was really good speakers and content. So when I was there, I was glad to be there. But then when it was done, there was a lot of fun stuff to do. And so it's just a really good balance, I think, of that to me that I thought was fun. So
I think that hit the nail right on the head. I mean, you go there, and I know that you're not going to say this, but you and Brian happened to be two of those great speakers last year. There was some guy from South Carolina. He kind of sucked. The rest of the people were okay, But no,
why rise above expectations, Chad?
Yeah. Two of the three that you're looking at right now were fantastic speakers last year. So I think I love what you said. Aspire is really just a balance of quality education and quality good time. And I think that you blend those two together just perfectly in the perfect environment, a great time. I mean, we have a good time every year. And the nice thing about it is that you don't have to go to the same place year after year, because Dawn is really doing a great job of mixing it up. And this year it's going to be in Cabo, which will be a completely different environment from Cancun and even Tulum. So it's just something that I think you kind of go to, you get the bug for it, you kind of want to go back. And so both as a speaker and as an attendee. So we will talk with the guy.
Okay. I'll keep my ear open. That's great news. So
yeah, he lives behind a green curtain in the land of Oz.
That's great. That seems accessible. We can get there. That's fine. I heard there's a way to get there.
So,
hi. Well, Ben, we appreciate you being with us so much. It's not often that we get to hang out with dentists who really show off the philanthropic side of dentistry. And I think we all have that in our hearts a little bit. I mean, most dentists that I know want to give something back. They just don't always know how. So thank you for providing that outlet and maybe helping other dentists understand how they can give back. And even if it's not something that they can provide in their practice, to have an outlet to refer to and have an opportunity to be able to get services for people who maybe deserve it and just don't have the means to pay for it. And that's just such a powerful message of tonight. So thank you for being with us, and thanks for taking the time. I know it was short notice, and and you were cordial enough to accept this invitation, and we appreciate it, and we can't wait to hang with you more. And with that, Chad, if you will close us out.
Thank
Hey,
you.
you know, I thought we were going to go Bridesmaids there. You ever seen that movie?
Yes.
I didn't know if that was your close or what.
Poop in the street.
Yeah. But you remember when they were giving the toast at the engagement party or whatever, and then they just kept going back and forth because someone would say something, then someone had something else to say that they felt was better, you know, and I was like, is this Jeff's close? Because I'm totally going to come back in, and I don't want to be, you know, the girl from Bridesmaids. But anyhow,
keep smiling, keep shining.
So
knowing you can always count on me.
That's it, baby. So one of the things that you said earlier is that, you know, as we close this for real this time, one of the things you said earlier was, you know, and I could gather this just from listening to you.
No, but for real, Ben, you're my best friend.
Good. Yeah, great.
Is one of the things you said earlier is that whether you can afford it or whether you can't, I can gauge that you're going to give them the same treatment. And I think that's pretty freaking powerful and phenomenal. So kudos to you for that. And as we were, you know, something crossed my mind as we were going through this podcast, and I want to close with a quote, and I want to see if either of you all can tell me where this quote comes from. But it says, you treat a disease, you win, you lose. You treat a person, I guarantee you'll win no matter what the outcome.
Oh, man.
Can anybody gather who that was from?
Sonia Henning?
No idea who that is. No.
Elvis.
Yeah, Elvis Presley?
Elvis Presley. No, it's not Elvis Presley. It's Patch Adams.
Oh,
and
wow.
It was eloquently verbalized by Robin Williams in the movie, God rest his soul. But anyhow, I was thinking of this the whole time, you know, like you're doing such a great thing for people. And I just found it to be such a powerful quote. I always have. So I just thought I'd share that as we close. But thank you so much for being here. Thanks for what you're doing, not just for your community, but for dentistry as a whole. I think more people need to join your movement. And dude, you're an awesome guy. Keep doing what you're doing, man. Let's catch up again soon.
Of course.
Thanks everybody for watching. And Ben, I think you should go put your kids to bed.
Oh man, I think they're out. I don't know. We'll see. It's a long drive home. So.
And